Yeah. So there you have it. And I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So we're just going to have fun. Have you and I have been in meetings before though. Okay.
Yeah, I think we had another call with Rollers similar to this, I think.
Okay. Really cool. So it's 3. We're probably needing to be live. Yeah. So there you have it. Oh, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So we're just going to have fun. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, wow. I had my LinkedIn open and it suddenly started channeling on my iPad and it suddenly just started channeling through there. Amanda and Joanne, are we live? Tell me when we're going live so I could be ready, unless maybe we're live now. I don't know. It's all good. Oh, we're live. Okay. Yay. So this is going to be fun. Already it's interesting. I know you were expecting to see Rollis here. Well, Rollis had an emergency. Sometimes life happens and he had to tend to it. So he, for whatever reason, I think he was very distracted when he said, Teresa, you could just run the talent roundtable today. And I was like, sure, I can do that. But I'm excited. This is going to be like a girl power thing today. We're going to be having some interesting conversation, talking about recruitment. I think if you're a job seeker out there, you want to listen in. We're going to hopefully be giving you some tips, some tricks. We're going to talk to also maybe what the challenges are in the worlds that we live in right now, and how you as a candidate, maybe you as a recruiter, maybe you as a hiring manager are listening in. So we're going to talk about a little bit of everything. I am so excited, and because I'm staring at a screen, I'm going to pick the person who's to my left first, and that would be Janet Johnson-Taylor, is the Director of Talent Acquisition at Lucid Software. She is a results-focused recruiting leader that oversees a team of professional recruiters filling positions across the globe at a fast-growing SaaS company, which is awesome. Welcome, Jana. This will be fun.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
I know. And then Kristen Files is an amazing and enthusiastic leader, very detail-oriented, strategic, and loyal. I don't even want to talk about the fact that she's a TCU graduate because I am an Oregon Ducks fan, and there was an Alamo Bowl that I went to a few years ago that I'm already harboring a grudge right now, so it's okay. But she is an experienced corporate recruiter, and she currently actually is a senior talent acquisition recruiter at Vail Health. Now, I'm going to assume or presume that that is Vail Health in Colorado by the looks of that picture behind you.
It is. It is.
Gosh. And my name is Teresa Mazzaro, and I'm a senior talent acquisition specialist. I work at one of the community-based hospitals, Suburban Hospital. That's part of the Johns Hopkins Medicine System here in Bethesda, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. So welcome to everybody. This is wonderful. And apparently, if you want to chat, if you want to ask a question, if you want to comment on anything that we're doing, I actually have somebody who's going to monitor that for me, since Rollis probably could do all of this, and I'm going to just focus on talking with you ladies and entertaining any questions that come through. So I am very curious. I kind of know what Kristen does because we're in that same career field and the path together. But Gina, you've got some live time here. Talk to me about Lucid. Absolutely. Who do you hire, first of all, and then what does your company do?
Yeah, so we're hiring for a lot of different departments. We just hire smart people that are committed to our values and that are going to be a great add. So you don't necessarily have to have a software background to work at Lucid Software. We're hiring in, marketing and customer success, G&A. There are still a lot of engineering positions and then sales. But one thing I really like about Lucid is that we'll take salespeople from anywhere and help kind of build them into the software industry, where I know that's not as common. And Lucid Software makes Lucid Chart, Lucid Spark, and Lucid Scale. So Lucid Chart's probably the one that you've heard of before. That's our flagship product.
Nice. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Well, it's interesting. I have to digress here. So from a sales perspective, before either of you were recruiters, were either one of you in sales?
So I did some sales in college, but I didn't really take that path professionally. It was more just to get through college type of thing. But yeah, I think a lot of skills translate over. So it's interesting
Oh.
that you bring that up.
Absolutely. Kristen, what were you doing before you got into recruitment?
I fell into recruitment right out of college. Fell
Okay.
in healthcare staffing, kind of did it, took a break, went into a different industry and then came back to it. But it's true. I think as recruiters, we have a lot of the skill set that they use in sales, right? We're just selling opportunities and career paths versus a product.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny you say that about the product piece. I always tell people, because I actually was a nurse at the bedside, got into biotech pharmaceutical sales, and then became a recruiter. And I said, my product is the people, right? The product is the people that work in that organization. And then what do they do? Be it working for someplace like Lucid or Vail Health or within Johns Hopkins, the care that they deliver, the product that they develop, that is, we're selling that, right? And we have to believe in that. And it's hard out there right now. And it's kind of funny, if you're a job seeker out there, I think that you might wonder, like, how can people keep talking about that it's a candidate's market? And why am I not getting that call back, right? Why am I not getting those job offers? And I don't know if that's the case. If you're watching this and that's happening to you, maybe you're new into the role, maybe you just graduated. I know that from the nursing perspective, we get a lot of new graduate nurses, and I know that no matter what hospital you're in, you could only take so many, right? You could cross-train people like Jana's talking about. And I'd be curious to see what kind of internships you all are offering. So Kristen, why don't you start? Talk to me about like clinical, non-clinical. What do you guys do to help transition somebody from being that novice person?
Yeah, and that's I'm glad that you asked, because Vail Health is within the last 3 months really taken a specific approach. So we have a lot of entry level clinical positions, such as your CNA, your MA, kind of some of those entry level bedside. We have recently created a CNA trainee program where we will help you obtain your CNA licensure on the job, doing other, unit coordinator positions until we can get your licensure. So on the clinical side, from the entry level piece, we've created that trainee program. From the new graduate nurse perspective, we've got a cohort that we start twice a year. And I think one of the really cool things about Vail Health is that we don't necessarily just restrict our new grads to a med-surg unit. We bring them into the OR, our labor and delivery units, the ED. So I think that that's a little bit different, and that's really working well for us. And then on the non-clinical side, we've created a couple strategic partnerships with local organizations around the area to bring some of our high school students in to train them in our inventory positions and some of those positions that you don't need a degree to complete, but in their local and they're bought into the community. So we've really started to do some of that. And we've found that if we're going to fill our positions, especially in a mountain community where the cost of living is pretty high and housing is very expensive and there's not a lot of it, that we need to do everything that we can to incorporate those who already are within our community. And how can we upskill them where we need to, or plug them in with the skill set that they have right now?
Absolutely. Are you one of the largest employers in the area outside of, I'm going to say, the mountain,
Vail Resort. Yep. Vail Resort is the largest. And then we, especially in Eagle County, Vail Health is right there next to them.
Wow. So you do make an impact in your community, which is so important. Jana,
Yeah.
for your team, are you guys all virtual? Are you on site somewhere? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're actually also based out of Salt Lake City, so kind of more of a mountain area as well. So I can relate to that. It's a smaller market than maybe like San Francisco and some of those other tech hubs, but we are mainly based out of Salt Lake City. There are some remote employees, and we also have an office in Amsterdam and Melbourne, Australia. So we hire outside of the US as well to service more of like our APAC and EMEA customers. But we are starting to expand a little bit more. We're fully remote right now. And we'll see what kind of the return after COVID looks like. So we have
there's such a thing
to be remote. I know, right?
And that's something I think that a lot of job seekers are really, really interested in right now, because especially if you're in a role where you can be remote, be it recruitment, be it in finance or engineering, any of these roles where you don't have to have a face-to-face, in-person I think hospital, right? I mean, a nurse isn't going to be able to work remote unless maybe you work in utilization review and you're looking at charts, right? You could do that electronically, but for the most part, in the hospital setting, probably the majority of those positions have to be in person, and it's a challenge for people. And I think that in the world that you're in, I think I'd be very curious to see, we'll have to touch base a few months from now, hopefully when we are on the downward slide, and we'll see how it goes from a perspective of, what about keeping people remote all the time? And do people want to do that? Have people become accustomed to it? How many dogs and puppies and cats and pets have people gotten in the last 2 years that they don't want to go back to work? They like hanging out with their pet at home and taking a walk to take a break and getting fresh air and feeling like they're just not tied to their chair. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Oh, that's cool. We have our first question. So somebody was actually asking a question. Benjamin, thanks for the question. Just wanting to know, how can folks connect with recruiters that will generate results? I can't count the number of applications I've filled out or resumes sent where I don't think a human ever saw them. Oh, that makes me sad. Benjamin, that makes me so sad. Jana or Kristen, do you want to respond to that? Like, what are your thoughts? And we'll hear it from the healthcare side, and we'll hear it, Jana, from your world. What can a candidate do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting time, right? We continually hear the phrase, the great resignation, right? And so we have a lot of candidates that say, hey, I'm looking for a job and I can't get anybody to hire me. I don't get any calls back. Thanks for calling me. Nobody else has. And it's one of those things, I think, as volumes change and our needs change, I would say for a candidate, one of the best things that you can do to ensure that your things are being reviewed by a recruiter is to make sure that you tailor your resume to each position that you're applying for. So read those minimum qualifications in the position, make sure you possess those. And then from there, kind of read through, what is this position going to be doing? How can I highlight in my resume what they want this candidate to have and the experience I have that correlates with it? I think that that's one of the best ways to set yourself apart from others. And then kind of one of the easiest things that I see a lot of is kind of half-hearted applications. You're trying, but you didn't give it a full effort and didn't kind of, that you can see that when we review the application by 1 or 2 sentences in each thing. So I would say, make sure that you're giving it your best and putting your best foot forward in the application process as well as your resume.
I love that. And if there's an opportunity for a cover letter, make sure it's the cover letter that's addressed to the company. If you're applying to numerous positions, nothing worse that we like to see is when we open up that cover letter, we're excited to read it. And trust me, I read them because I think it's important. It speaks volumes. I tell all of my new grads, doesn't matter what role you're in, write a cover letter, even if it's just a few sentences to tell me the why behind it. But if I work for Suburban Hospital and it says XYZ hospital down the street, I know that you're not paying attention. And attention to detail is important. So, but I love that. I like what you said about transferable skills. And I think, Jana, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Give some advice to Benjamin, if we could, please.
Yeah, Kristen did an amazing job. I think mirroring the job description is really important as well. One thing, and maybe this isn't applicable to healthcare because I don't work in healthcare, so I'm not sure, but is connecting with recruiters on LinkedIn. We're all on LinkedIn. Go say, hey, I applied with you. I'm interested in this position. Point out some of those skills in the job description that were keywords that you found, and try and personally make a connection there or get referred by somebody that that works there. And for us, we went through 35,000 applications last year. So we obviously just don't have the staff to go through those for a lot of time and comb through them. So, we need to see some quick things on the application and your resume that will help us to move forward and really point those things out quickly. So
35,000.
Yes, wow. It's a ton.
Well, and now, did you use AI to do an initial screen?
Yeah. So one thing, with that many applications, and, this could be going down in other industries. Like you said, there's this great resignation happening and we're getting less applications that we might have had in the past, but we're still going to use tools that help us get through applications quickly. So we don't use AI tools, but we are asking questions in the application to say, hey, we need somebody that knows Salesforce really well, or someone that has this particular skill. Do you have it or not? And if you say, no, I don't have the skill that's required for the job, then it is going to automatically take you out of the process with us. So you do have to remember, really make sure that you have the qualifications that we're looking for. And we will break it down on our job descriptions to say, these ones are required and these ones are nice to have. And we're never going to exclude you for the nice to have stuff, but some of the skills are just, they're absolutely critical for that job. Yeah. And we also have a general application as well that you can fill out. So if you're like, I'm almost there on the skills, or I actually don't know this particular software, but maybe if I got into a step below that position that I would be able to get to the next level in a year or two, then you can fill out the general application. And if we change the role or have one open in the future, then we can definitely reach out to you in the future for that. So I don't know if any of your companies have that, but we do have where, you can kind of fill out general application. I don't see the job I'm looking for, but I'll get in your system and kind of get on your radar. But I love when people personally connect with me, and I'll just be really honest on LinkedIn, or if somebody emails me, hey, here's the 3 things that I would work on or tweak on your resume to better match the job description. And if I don't feel like that person's a fit or needs some more additional skills to get into that type of role, then I can suggest how to get there.
Nice. Yeah. LinkedIn is so key. And even for healthcare, I have a new grad nurse residency group. Kristen, I think you're a member. If you're not, I will invite you. But I have new grads from all over the country that want to, and I put my Calendly link in there. If you want to talk, we'll talk. I don't know what's going on in California. A lot of new grads, because they're all reaching out. How do I get a job? And I'm like, find their recruiter, find out who's there. Just type it in. And I kind of show them how to do that so you can connect with them. And then it's like, if you're in the hospital, or if you're in there doing an internship or precepting or hours or some sort of a, program, introduce yourself to people along the way, right? But for people like Benjamin, I get it. It feels like a human has never seen them, but applying to the job, making sure you qualify for it. I read a statistic that 60 or 75% of men will apply for a job, even if they only actually have 50% of the qualifications, but only 35% of women would. So I don't know what that means, but it was interesting to me that the dominant, close enough, I'll apply for that. But realize that if you apply for a role where, in Jana's case or in Kristen or my case, where we need these things, then you're not going to get past go. Hopefully we've got applicant tracking systems where you have a built-in disposition. At least we give you an email that says, sorry. Hopefully that's a good candidate experience. But the other thing I would caution is, if we require 2+ years of experience, and maybe you are that person who's like, but I don't have 2 years, I have 1 year and 10 months. For goodness sakes, please apply, right? By the time you interview, give notice, start, you could have those 2 years that we're looking for. So we want to get you past that point. So don't let those numbers get in your way. And if you require a licensure or a certification and you don't have it for that state, then don't worry about that either, because we know you can get it, right? For the most part, it's easy, for at least on the healthcare side of things, it should be easy. But yeah, that's awesome. Do any of you actually teach do either of you teach any new grad or career counseling, either internally, or do you do anything externally with schools that you work with? I'm curious. Jana, we'll start with you.
Yeah, we do a new grad program in our engineering department, and we'll take new graduates right out of school. A lot of them have interned with us in the past. We have people that intern for a couple summers in a row and then come take a full-time position. So that's pretty prevalent in our engineering program, to get candidates kind of, started with us, gain some experience through an internship role, and then come on full-time afterwards. We also are taking new grads that haven't interned with us before as well. And we go to about 72 different events throughout the country during campus recruitment season.
Are you guys going live this year?
We've had a couple of live events and most of them are remote.
Okay, we'll be curious to see how that works because I know we all like going to our schools and interacting with people in general. Not that this Zoom isn't fantastic, but it's always nice that you can be in person with somebody. What about you, Kristen? What type of, do you have somebody who does that for you, or do you as recruiters participate?
Yeah, great question. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag with us. Our HR team in general will do a lot of those relationship buildings with universities, but as the talent acquisition team, we're doing it as well, and kind of our learning and development team internally hosts a lot of that for our internal employees as we look at, new grads and that type of thing.
I like it. Well, when you were
Yeah.
talking about the CNA training program, is that for your external and internal people, or is it more focused internally for, like, if you work, let's say, in environmental services, then you could become a CNA?
So right now it's actually, sorry, there goes the dog. It's actually flipped and it's external facing right now.
Okay.
And we're then looking to kind of how can we translate that into internal, but right now it's external.
All right, I have to ask, this is like totally off topic, but Rollis does this, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to take liberty to do this. Did either of you get a pet in the last 2 years?
You just heard him squeaking. Oh, there he is.
We didn't actually. Shockingly enough, we don't have any new pets.
What's so funny is this, again, a friend of mine who was in healthcare recruitment for people is now in healthcare recruitment for veterinary medicine. And he gave me some statistic, like shocking statistic about how there was a period of time, especially in 2020, when the shelters were almost all empty because everybody was adopting a pet. They're like, I'm going to be home, I'm getting a pet.
Which
So.
is fantastic. I love to hear that.
No, I know, but now there's conversations around this about that when people are going back to work, they might not have a pet anymore. So that makes me sad. So yeah, if I didn't live in a little tiny condo, I'd be like, I want more. I want them all. It's all good. So if you are, we could go all over the place with this. What technology? We were just talking about Slack. Okay, so Janice said something about Slack. I said, what's Slack? Because I heard somebody else talking about Slack. And I was like, I should know what Slack is. How are you communicating with each other? How do you communicate with candidates? How do you communicate with hiring managers? What do you all use? I know it's internal and external, right? So let's start with, how do you communicate with your candidates? And what type of tools do you do for engagement with your candidates? Like, are you using chatbots, or what do you guys have out there? Kristen, I'll let you start.
I think the primary mode of communication for us with candidates is via email or phone. We kind of looked at going down that chatbot path and then kind of laid off of it. So we are still somewhat old school in our approach, but it seems to work for us. So we've stuck with it.
I like it. No, and then, so this is just a totally aside, working from home, working remote. And for candidates, for the candidate experience. So, people work nights, people are all over the place. And if you don't reach them, like, how do you reach out to them? Like, do you just sort of play phone tag? Do you guys have a Calendly account? Do you use like an interview stream scheduler?
Yeah, we do both. But generally speaking, leave them a voicemail. And if you don't catch them after a couple of times, shoot an email. Hey, when can we catch up with that Calendly invite and those type of things?
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
what
for
are you
us,
doing, Jana?
yeah, we use our applicant tracking system quite a bit to get messages through, but we're also using text reminders. And then we interview everyone over Zoom. So no one's sort of like flying into our office like they used to and interviewing in person. It's just all virtual now, since they're working in a virtual environment anyways.
Nice.
And so the text message reminder is really helpful though, of just like, hey, we've scheduled the interview. Hey, your interview takes place at this time. Hey, remember that you're interviewing with us in tomorrow and then in 2 hours from now and what have you. So those are really helpful. And then we're also looking into another sort of candidate experience platform called Guide. And it's kind of got, you could call it like a Marketo for recruiters, where it's going to send out messages around just marketing the company and who we are in different stages. And so it's integrating with the applicant tracking system.
What do you
And
guys have for an applicant tracking system?
we're using Greenhouse.
Okay, okay.
Yep. And then
I'm so excited. We are transitioning to Greenhouse. We're in the process and going live in a couple of weeks. So
You'll
we are
love
super
it.
excited about it.
Good. Yeah, you'll love it. It's amazing. And we have almost 1,000 employees now. So Greenhouse has been really great to help us scale and everything, and just make a lot of our processes a little bit more automated. But Guide will also send little marketing things as they go through
Like
the
a
process.
drip campaign sort of.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
So, as they're getting further into the process, we might be like, here's some of our benefits, and here's our executive team, and here's our values, and here's something exciting about the team that you would join, and here's an article about our growth in TechCrunch or something like that.
Are they pictures, articles, or are they videos that you could share?
It's any of the above. So it would still send them out in an email format where, you could share some type of article, a short little video clip, or even something from the CEO saying, hey, I'm excited that you're interviewing with us. Here's the things that are important to me and our company values, or something like that. So
Nice.
we're really excited to sort of get that into our process and help candidates really understand who we are before they join.
Oh, very nice. Well, I don't have Greenhouse. I have I'm going to say it's got some opportunity in front of it. We use SuccessFactors, and it's okay. It's fine. But you know what? It's like, what tools do you use, right? Like, how do you engage with people? I have just really started using a tool called Seek Out for
We use
sourcing.
Seek Out as well.
Love
Yeah,
Seek Out.
we love it.
Love Seek Out. And I was thinking, in your space, really, Jana, Seek Out rocks. It does. I've been helping out. We've got an insurance arm, Johns Hopkins Healthcare. They do amazing things around providing. They have a TRICARE contract, so they're like the U.S. Family Health Plan in our area. They've got our insurance. They do a Medicaid, a managed Medicare program. Really cool part of Johns Hopkins. And I've been helping them with some engineering people. And I'm like, I'm having so much fun sourcing and creating Boolean search strings because, RN. I mean, that's like all day long. It's easy to, how many nurses are out there? I don't know, but like on-base solutions engineer and, software systems architect, and just having fun with that. And to me, those types of tools like a Seek Out, I'm giving Seek Out my shout out to my friends at Seek Out, because I literally will reach out to my customer success manager. I'm like, can you help me? I need a Boolean search string, please. And this is tech stuff, and I don't speak tech yet, so you got to help me. And he'll come back with all these different strings, and I just put it out there. But it's the messaging afterwards, right? And then giving them the opportunity. Here's a link to, we're going to work on video because I love my video, as anybody who knows me knows that, but love the video, insert a video, Calendly link. Here's hey, you want to go to the posting and apply? Go do that too. But otherwise, let's chat. And then I'm like a kid at the holidays. We're like, oh, Calendly link. It just came through. Which job is this? And then you're all excited. And then you just start like, yay, is this person going to be available? And I mean, trust me, candidates, when you're out there, like if you've got the skills that we need, if that job is posted on our website, we want to talk to you. We want to talk to you. So yeah, it's fun that way.
We love Seek Out and Calendly too. Those are also staples in our department.
Absolutely. Well,
and I love when I'm recruiting recruiters, because then they just send me their Calendly and I'm like, all right, we're booked. Let's do this.
Well, and I think we use a tool it used to be called Rivs. It's evolved. It's called Interview Stream now. So it's a one-way interviewer, a one-way video interview platform, plus a scheduler, and it's got other options as well. But we use the one-way video interview. Now, hard to say, when would you use something like this in a candidate environment? Are you going to take a difficult to fill position and are you going to make them do an interview when you're not talking to them? Well, heck no. No, right? But high volume positions, we do that with, because it helps us get an understanding that if we ask them, why do you want to work here, that they know why, right? They could tell us the why. And then the scheduler piece, I was going to mention this to you, Kristen. I know Calendly is pretty cool, but adding a personal touch to it. So let's say I've got a night shift person. I know they're sleeping. I used to actually call and leave a voicemail. And then sometimes I woke people up and I felt really bad. I'm like, because I used to work nights. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I woke you. So now I have a message. They click on it, either a text or an email that they get. They click on it and there's a video of me that says, hey, thanks for your interest in our hospital, right? Or thanks for your interest in wherever. I know, and I have I know you're probably working nights. You're probably sleeping, or maybe you're just enjoying a day off. Click on this calendar and pick a time that's really good for you. So that's where I'm trying to take tech. I'm not even calling these people in the middle of the day because I am afraid they're sleeping, especially if the application came in at 11 o'clock at night or at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yeah, they're probably sleeping right now. So it's like, how do you engage with those candidates and give them that touch when you're working remote, right? When you don't have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's kind of the same for us when we're recruiting in different markets. So, Amsterdam, we know we have to talk to them early in the morning. And then in Melbourne, Australia, we're talking to them later in our day. So you kind of have to balance that. But yeah, I think that's why the texting is so helpful, but I never thought about sending them a video. So I love that.
Oh gosh, yeah. Imagine if they could get a video from whoever the hiring manager is. That's the next project I have on the docket with Rollis in a couple of weeks. I'm going to have some of my IT folks. They're like, but I don't want to be on a video. And I'm like, it's not like this. It's going to be something a little bit more like, well, here's my team. Let me tell you about my team. You want to be an on-base software engineer with JHHC. Let me tell you about my team. And this is what we're looking for. And if you're that person, hey, there you go. So like that's part 2, but it's all good. I'm going to say water break if anybody needs a water break. So there we go. Kristen's like, I don't need it. Power on, power through, make it happen.
Yes.
So it's funny, as Sierra Stack sent a message out to Benjamin and said, definitely search for recruiters that works for that company. Call the main line and ask for the recruiter. Although calling the main line anymore, if we're not there, might get your voicemail. Mine doesn't forward, but I'll see it. It'll pop up on my Outlook that I have a voicemail. So that might be a good way to talk to somebody. But in the world of remote working, and you never know what that looks like, I'd say LinkedIn for sure. Call the company if you want to. Do it all. Because the bottom line is, I feel like there should be nobody unemployed in this country. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there. And I know that you can work for, be it a healthcare organization, be it an amazing company like Lucid, and there's got to be a role for somebody, right? It may not be to your suiting, and maybe you just need to keep looking. I feel like we as recruiters are somewhat matchmakers. And Jana, I think, can you actually, I want to share a story. Let's share a story. Jana, tell me about one of those times when you were talking to a candidate, they were completely wrong for one position. And do you have that kind of a story, and how you were able to help get them into the right spot?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think back to, it's kind of like you always remember your first, right? So I kind of think
your
back.
First hire, people. This is
first love / hire. Okay. So it was more of somebody that was kind of in this situation back earlier in my career, and they had a teaching background. I won't say who it is. They had a teaching background, and they were like, I want to break into tech. How do I do this? What do I do? I'm going after this position. And I immediately was like, it's all wrong. Definitely not that role. But we got this person more into a customer trainer type of position, and they already had that educational background. And so teaching was the skill that they used to sort of apply it to being a teacher to our customers. And so what the person had to learn was to learn the ins and outs of our software and how it worked. And then they could teach it to our customers. And this person went on to do great things. And they work at a different tech company. We're both at different companies now. But it was just really fun to watch their career sort of take off. And I believe, if I remember right, the role was temporary in the beginning, and they were able to go permanent and then get a couple of promotions before they left to a great tech company in San Francisco that they work for now. And it just goes to show, if you get the right person on the right seat on the bus, that they can really help your company accelerate and also help themselves and get into a better situation and find a career that they're happy with. And it was just apparent from, a couple of years of teaching, they were like, this just isn't for me. And so it was really great to watch that and watch them grow over the years. And we're
I
still
love that.
connected and friends today. Yeah.
Love that. Okay, I'm going to share my own story because I was a nurse. I was a nurse in the military at the same time in the Guard and Reserves. I was a flight nurse. I was a nurse. And then I got into the big bad pharmaceutical companies and worked in sales. And I remember after the 17th layoff threat for the pharmaceutical companies, which was going back on about 16, 17 years ago, it was like, you know what? I literally opened up a little nurse.com periodical, which back then was like this big, it was like a newspaper. And there was this nurse recruiter role at the hospital that was a half a mile from my house. I'm like, oh, I can do that. And shout out to Libby Sturdivant, who was the nurse recruiter who became the manager, who was hiring me to replace the original person, the original recruiter. The HR recruiter didn't want to talk to me because I didn't have one of the requirements of the job. I didn't have a BSN. I had a BA. I had an RN and a BA. And then she's like, but she has no HR background. And Libby was like, sales, nurse, military. Probably outgoing. I think we can call her. And that's it. And I found the perfect job in recruiting, and I've been doing it ever since. And if there hadn't been that conversation between the hiring manager and the recruiter, I guess I don't know what I would be doing. But
yeah, I love that. And I think, sometimes it just takes someone taking a chance on you. And I had that earlier in my career as well, where I was trying to get into tech from a different industry. I had the recruiting skills, but I didn't have the tech background they were looking for. And so one of my old bosses took a chance on me, and it ended up panning out. And just really grateful for that opportunity to be somewhere that I'm happy and I love it and I thrive. So yeah, shout out to those people who take a chance.
I think the skill sets that we learn in recruiting, and really you have to seek it out. And I'm lucky. I am the president of our National Association of Healthcare Recruiters. I go to those conferences, I do the webinars, I eat that stuff up, because why would I have to go look for something when it's hand delivered to me, right? Unless I'm watching one of Rollis's shows, that's also hand curated just for me. But I get to learn, that's how I learned. And it's funny, somebody mentioned VidRecruiter is a great one-way video tool, great for entry level. And then they were asking about the video messaging and what app. It's actually called Interview Stream, and it's a scheduler and a video, one-way video interviewing tool. So a little bit of everything. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, and our video interview tool, if they're interested, is called Spark Hire.
I know Spark Hire.
Yeah. And being from Salt Lake City, there's also HireVue. They're based out of Salt Lake City as well, but there's
a lot. Now, Kristen, what about one of your stories? What about your first?
When Jan was telling her story, I was like, gosh, I experienced that myself. So it's funny that when Teresa, you then shared the story for yourself. But right out of college, I was hired, like I said, into healthcare recruiting, but it was on the agency side, which is a sales job. And I think I made it 3 days, and the VP pulled me aside and goes, looks like it's not a fit for you. You'd be a great fit as a corporate recruiter. Can we help transition you into that? And that was the pivot for me. I made it 3 days in a job that I was like, I either got to quit or something's going to happen. I get pulled aside by the VP, and I'm like, oh, it's been real working here. First real job. Didn't pan out. But then to have that opportunity to transition into the corporate side made all the difference in the world. And I sat under one of the strongest leaders that I've ever worked for. And so she gave me all of the skills, all of the confidence, everything that I need, at the age of 23 was really helpful. And I've, built upon those skills since then. And I think after you've experienced it for yourself, it's a heck of a lot easier to want to do that for your candidates, right? You can empathize with that. I really want this job. I don't know how to get there. And let's find a place for you and help develop you and find a place where you can be successful. And often as the recruiters, we are the ones that have that better picture of what the position looks like. A candidate can think, oh my gosh, this is my dream job. I am going to be great at it. And then, as the recruiter, you're going to be great at a job with us, but it's just not this one. And so helping pivot them, I think that's one of the best parts of our position, is to have that opportunity to help develop people and find that fit for them.
Absolutely. It's funny. We had NACR conference pre-pandemic. Everything is pre-pandemic or post-pandemic or during the pandemic. Our last in-person live conference was in Philadelphia in 2019, and we had a keynote speaker. She spoke to my heart because she talked about two different types of candidates, and she talked about the scrapper candidate. She talked about what she called the silver spoon candidate. The silver spoon wasn't necessarily a rich person, but they just never suffered, right? They never had to go get it and grasp at it. And then she talked about those scrappy candidates that might not look so good on a resume. And if you're one of those scrappy candidates, I'm speaking to you here. Let me tell you, we as recruiters admire your journey. If I've had people that have come to this country, they worked in-house, they worked as a clean people's homes while they could get whatever they could to get that next job. Then they get a housekeeping job, maybe at the hospital. Then they become a CNA. Then they work in patient access, and then they become a nurse, and then they do amazing things. And it's like, wow, okay, I get, we're a magnet hospital. We really want to hire BSN nurses. But if an associate degree nurse comes to me and they've got that passion and drive, and we give them the opportunity and the tuition reimbursement and scholarship money potential to go get your BSN, they're probably going to stay with me for a long time because you give them that opportunity. And I think there's that built-in loyalty in the world where people have so many options for work, and they've got, all the options that they want for work, and they could go anywhere they want to, especially in our world of nursing these days, and probably engineering too, right? There's so many different avenues people can take. It's like, well, how do you build that loyalty, right? How do you build that loyalty?
And I think as a recruiter, and maybe I'm alone in this one, Jana and Teresa, tell me if you feel differently. I think there are some days where I have to remind myself that these candidates are people too, and they're not just a piece of paper. And there are days, where you begin looking at applications and you have several that just aren't a fit, don't meet main calls, didn't put forth that effort, and you kind of get into that not a fit, not a fit, not a fit. And you have to remind yourself that these are people that are excited. They took time to apply to work for our organization. So I need to be respectful of that and see, where can I make you fit, and how can we help, make this a strong organization based upon those who are interested in being part of it. And if our values align, then let's see what we can do. And I think that sometimes I have to have that reset for myself.
Yeah, I love that call out too. And I think I hear that a lot where people are like, Lucid is my dream job. And so you guys probably get that too when you're hearing from candidates. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called me back. And it's great to hear, and just helps you also feel lucky for yourself too. You're like, wow, I work at such a great company where we get all of these people that also want to work here. And it's so refreshing, and a good reminder that, wow, they're real people. They're following us, they're looking at what we're doing, and they care about our organization and want to make a difference. And I think that's especially in healthcare, the making a difference piece.
You know what? I think that no matter what you do, like I said, I've been working with this group from Johns Hopkins Healthcare, the supporting everything around insurance. Well, guess what? I have that insurance. I want the person I call who's managing, and my mom has that insurance because she's got the military benefit, the U.S. Family Health Plan. When I talk to that case manager, I want that to be a nice case manager because I'm a cranky daughter sometimes. And, you want to have those good experiences. So it's like, it doesn't matter what your role, right? It's the person who could be, if you've ever scheduled an appointment, you're like, oh my gosh, how many buttons do I have to push? Let's not have that, right? Like, same thing if you're a candidate. We want to get to you. We want you to be able to get to us. I hope that we're giving you lots of good tips and tricks along the way. I hope we've made Rollis proud with this episode. It's not as good as when he's there, but we ladies, we're doing what we can. I would say that I know for sure I'm going to be connecting with you, Jana. I want to hear more about Lucid. Kristen, I know we are already connected. I just want everybody out there, please, if you like this, share it with somebody who might benefit from this. If you know somebody who might want to work in any of these environments that we're in. And remember, with healthcare, you don't have to always be at the bedside. You could be an engineer too. So maybe I'll be looking for some of those candidates. So
We'll arm wrestle over them.
that's right. That's right. Except they have to work in certain states for us. So we're going to work through all those details too. But you know what? Reach out to us, because that's why we do these shows. Really, we like people. We like connecting with people. We like hearing from each other what's out there. And even the comments that come through, I'm like, what's FidRecruiter? I need to go check that out. And what about Greenhouse as an applicant tracking system? I want to know more. So I think we could call this one a wrap. And
Yeah,
I
it's
think
great
we
to
can
learn
say,
from you
Rollis, we
both.
hope it worked out okay. And again, ladies, what a pleasure. How much fun is this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Teresa, thank you for stepping in. Rollis has such great energy that's really hard to replicate, but I think you've done that and then some. So thank you for stepping in his time of need.
You know what? I know. Prayers for Rollis. It's all good. We want everything to be well for him. I hate when emergencies pop up like that, but sometimes life happens and we have to remember that we all have these day jobs, but then we also have our family and our friends around us that we have to take care of too, and our pets. What kind of a pet, Kristen?
He is an 18-month-old boxer puppy that is insane. There's no other word for him but insane.
Would it be rude if we had the dog on the show?
I know, of course, he just ran off. But I should have popped in on earlier when he was playing with his toy. But yes, he makes the workday much better.
Oh, I love it. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. When I work remotely, I have my mom with me. So it's like, okay, Mom, I'm on a live show. Now's not the time to flush the toilet. Working remote has its interesting moments and times. So thank you all so much for joining us. Again, happy to connect with anybody out there in the LinkedIn world and space. And I hope this has been a benefit, because I've certainly learned a few things along the way, and just happy to be a part of this. And somebody's going to tell me when we're no longer live, and we'll go from there. So thanks again. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
And I think